Alright kids, my next little project just showed up. So one thing I noticed is that I guess there was some water damage to the box here. Got wet or something, but box integrity still looks pretty good. Just getting ready to cut it open here. See what we got. With the go-kart on the last deal, the packaging was less than stellar. Like I said, the thing had shipped it in transit, but this one doesn't seem too bad. Alright, so the whole thing's wrapped in plastic here, so that's good. So there's not going to be any real damage or anything. So that's good. So here we are. I'm going to take a break here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull this whole box off and get a good look at it, and then I'll restart the video from there. Alright guys, this is what I got going on here. This one at least is within the confines of the packaging. You can see some heavy dents down here. This package has been through hell and back coming through China, but everything seems to be okay. Everything looks good. So, I'm going to go ahead and start unwrapping it. Alright guys, I'm not going to lie, it took a little bit of work to get this thing to this state by myself. It's pretty damn heavy. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I don't know, I've never owned a dirt bike before. I know this one's obviously going to be heavier than a Jap bike, but it's pretty heavy. Trying to manipulate it off that steel crate base without the wheel on it and without the rear suspension connected. Luckily it came on a wooden pallet under that, so what I did is I kind of rolled it off and just kind of let it freestand on itself very gently to the side, pulled the metal crate bottom out of the way, and then what I had to do is I very gently laid it down on its side on the softwood pallet and was able to flex the rear tire, get the rear suspension hooked up, get the front wheel on, and then obviously the kickstand was already on it, so I can just put the kickstand on and down rather and Loctite and work on everything. So albeit not rocket science, took a little bit of doing, working by myself without a motorcycle jack or another person to help me put a motorcycle jack under it or any of that stuff. So a little redneck engineering, but we got it together here. Right now at this point, I'm just going to start going over all the little nuts and bolts and making sure that everything is tight, everything is Loctited. These bikes can be good. I know there's a lot of debate on that, and there's going to be a lot of naysayers, but they can be good. They're not great, but they can be good, and they can last a long time. They can be functional, and they can be used, and you can use them pretty hard. But you have to know what you're doing from the get-go with these things. You have to expect that you might have to tinker with them a little bit. You have to expect that stuff is not going to be perfectly tightened or Loctited. You have to check all this stuff. Quality control is just not there. As far as the engines and stuff, they're pretty good with all that stuff. Bad engine can come from anybody, any place, anytime. But you just have to go over the whole thing from front to back and make sure everything is tight, everything is good, everything's the way it should be, everything's aligned. You're going to have to adjust the brakes, you're going to have to adjust the clutch, you're going to have to tighten up the rear chain set and all that stuff. This is all just regular stuff. I'm waiting on a spoke wrench so that I can go through all the spokes on both wheels here and make sure those are all tight. And then after the first 3 rides, I'm going to have to tighten them down again. This is all to be expected. And if you have this little bit of mechanical aptitude and you can deal with these little things, you can get yourself a hell of a bargain. I mean, I was at Riva Yamaha yesterday, and I'll tell you what, this same caliber bike would run $5,000, maybe even $6,000 without even breaking a sweat. For a Jap quality one, obviously, but that's man, this is $1,600 here shipped to my door. I mean, come on. Could have basically 2.5 of these for what the Suzuki equivalent or Honda or Kawasaki equivalent would be. So it's to be expected that you're going to have to fidget with it a little bit. But you got steel braided brake lines, you got hydraulic brakes, you got all this stuff. It's all here. You just need to take the initiative to take your time and get it all right and break it in properly and all that good stuff. So here's where I'm at right now. I'm going to start going through all the bolts. Next step will be putting plastics on, and then we'll go from there. Alright kids, here it is. Well, minus that one little plastic, because the battery's still got to be filled and charged and then go in there. But otherwise, it's all together. Adjusted the brake levers and the shifter lever into the appropriate positions for my foot. And there's actually still a little bit of plastic sticker cover up on here. I'll get that off. But otherwise, it's all done. There we go. Get that off of there. So, not a bad looking bike. It's actually every bit as attractive in person as it was on the website. Despite it being, what it is. I think it's pretty attractive looking. As far as Chinese bikes go, most of them are kind of hokey looking. They always have like a cheapness to them. But this doesn't look cheap. I like that it's all blacked out. And I like the dark graphics on it. And welds on that pipe leave something to be desired. But it's not bad. I don't feel ashamed about riding this at all. I don't like this little chrome cap up here, though. I think that could be switched out for an anodized unit or something. But otherwise, man, it's not bad. It's got great, ground clearance on it. The forks in the front are soft, for sure. And I have to get a wrench to adjust the rear coilover, because it's just way too soft for a guy my size and weight, let's be honest. It's got to be cranked way up. Otherwise, it's pretty good. I'm not so sure about the position of the chain tensioner here. I don't know. Like, there's a lot of meat on that and it's missing it. I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to wait and see how that pans out, but that's where that goes. I had to put that on. And adjust the rear wheel and the chain tension and all that. And that hardware is kind of suck old. I'm gonna have to replace that with something better. I don't care for the quality of that hardware at all. But everything else is pretty darn good. I don't know what's supposed to go here. Maybe, I don't know. I don't see anything else in the box. I'll have to look around, make sure there's no other little doodads to go there. But it went together pretty easy, and the powder coating on the engine and the frame is pretty good. Yeah, I like it. Amazingly, all the spokes appear to be pretty tight from the factory. Not too much give. I mean, the front could use some tightening. The rear is actually pretty good. It's tight enough for me to give it a test ride and stuff, because they're going to loosen up after the first couple rides anyways. So good enough. By the time I get a couple of warm-up rides just to break it in, then the spoke wrench should be here, and I can go ahead and tighten those up. But this is it, and it's a good-looking piece of machinery here. Looks every bit as high class and stuff from the 3-footer as anything else you'd see riding down the street. So I'm excited. It looks good, looks cool, and I can't wait to ride it. Till then. All right, guys, day 2. I rode it very briefly a couple of times last night up and down the street here, and it was not doing so great. The idle was not right. It was choppy. It wouldn't run without being at least halfway choked. And it wouldn't accept full throttle, and, something wasn't right. So rather than get frustrated last night with it, I parked it, let it cool down, and decided to go at it fresh this morning. So I went on China Riders Forum, which is a forum devoted to Chinese-built, motorcycles, ATVs, scooters, things of that nature. And I talked to some of those guys who recommended that I switch the carburetor that came on it to an actual Mikuni carburetor rather than the cheap Chinese knockoff that's on there. Part of the problem is the cheap knockoff carburetor that's on it. They, for some reason, due to EPA restrictions, they blocked off with brass plugs and things all the adjustment screws. So there's nothing except for an idle adjustment screw. Everything's been blocked off. I looked in there with my little micro mirror and stuff, and it's totally been capped off, with brass plugs and stuff. So I can't do any fine tuning on it, but still, nonetheless, I wasn't in a big rush to spend $38 on a new carburetor, much less have to pull this thing all apart again to get it in there. So I said to myself, you know what? It's probably something stupid that I'm doing. You know, they wouldn't sell as many of these things as they have if these carburetors didn't work to some degree. So I started it up today, and I was playing with it, and I just tinkered with the idle screw a little bit more, and I think I've got it good now. I mean, it's not great, but it runs normal now. I mean, I know that if I put the Mikuni carburetor on there, I'm going to gain like 20% power on this thing. It's going to run ridiculously well. And I'm not saying that I won't do that, but, you know, for right now, I just wanted to ride it as is. And that's what I found, that I needed to play with the adjustments and stuff and let it warm up and play with the idle and all that stuff. And I've got it good now. The thing runs pretty decent. And I think once it continues to break in, it'll run better and better. It did come with a NGK-R plug in it. I was kind of shocked. I'm not sure if it's a knockoff or not. It looks official. After running it yesterday with the thing half choked and all that, you know, I pulled it and I looked and I saw that the plug was kind of fouled from running too rich because, you know, of running it that way. So I took the plug out, cleaned it, wire brushed it, you know, with the brass brush and all that stuff, and got it all squared away, put it back in, and we're good now. Needless to say, we're good now. This thing can run just as it is. It runs pretty good. I probably will end up buying a Mikuni carburetor and a K&N filter and jetting it and doing all that stuff because I just love to tinker. But there's no doubt that this thing would run just fine as it was intended with what it comes with. You know, your experience might be different with this bike, you know, or, you know, perhaps there's other people out there that feel that, you know, it's not worth the trouble, but I think for $1,600, and if you calculate even $50 for a carburetor, you know, upgrade into that, I mean, you're at $1,650. You can't really go wrong. Brakes, everything worked pretty darn good. Again, I got the wrench coming to adjust the rear suspension, and I don't know if I'm going to play with the front suspension just yet. I can see the line here of where the travel is going, me standing on it, bouncing on it while riding it, and we still got a lot of travel left. So maybe I don't know, maybe they're okay. You know, I don't, again, I've never had a dirt bike before, so I'm not totally positive how soft it's supposed to be, but I'm just going to leave the front forks alone for right now. I'm not that nitpicky. Otherwise, the electric start's been working real good. I haven't started kick-starting it yet. I've kicked it over a few times, but I haven't started it that way yet. I should try to do that just to make sure it works and all that. And that's it. I mean, it's totally together now. Obviously, the last video I didn't have the front fender on. The front fender is actually kind of cool looking. It's got a cool shape to it. The whole bike's got kind of an aggressive, kind of quasi-futuristic deal going on. But there it is. That's the end of it. I got it running. I got it running good. I've been riding it up and down the street here, testing it out. I guess the next thing to do would be to actually get it off-road once I got it broken in properly, and then give you guys a report on what I feel from that. There's already a lot of videos on YouTube of people riding them off-road and talking about them, so this was more a video to come at you guys a little different and give you guys the journey as it comes off the truck. It's in the crate, uncrating it, putting it together, what I found from the beginning up to this point. And then, you know, there's plenty of other videos up there. People have already been running them and stuff, and modifications and things like that. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching, guys.